Hey everybody, my name is Hassan and I'm a digital literacy specialist with Markham Public Library. And today we're going to be using Scratch, a free programming language, to create our very own Pong game. It's really easy to access, so hopefully we can get on that and get started. All right, so on your end, you should see my screen here. Now this is a free web-based application. The URL is scratch.mit.edu. There is no invite code or anything of that nature for this program, so just feel free to Google Scratch or just enter the URL which is there. And what we're going to do on our end is actually just click Create. And what's going to do is open up our project area, and what we'll be able to see on our end is what we're trying to create. Okay, so as you can see on our end here, we don't need to log in or anything to actually use the application. That being said, if you want to join Scratch or sign in, you'll have more options with regards to saving your projects and things like that. Now, to get started with making our very own Pong game, what I'm going to do is, just to make it a little bit more fun, I'm going to just get rid of Scratch the cat over here. So I'm just going to click the X. And yeah, in terms of, this is our workspace on this end. Now we're going to be able to see our project where I'm circling my mouse here. In the middle is where we're going to actually drag and drop our code in order to create our Pong game. And on the left-hand side here is a list of all the different codes. So anything that has to do with motion, anything that has to do with look, sound, events, control, sensing, operators, variables. Now, we won't necessarily be using all of these today, but we'll get a little bit in terms of, I guess, content, and as well as I guess actual language structure will be on this end here. Now what we're gonna do is, the first thing we need is just a cool backdrop, just to make it a little bit more fun. So on my end here, what I'm gonna do is click choose a backdrop. And this is where we can just create the background for our specific imaging or our project. There's a really cool space one that I like. So I'm just gonna try and find it. And if I want to, I can hit space here. And Galaxy shows up, which is nice. I'm gonna click that. And you're gonna see my actual Galaxy show up on my end here. And the next thing we're gonna do is, now the way Pong works is that there's a kind of like something called a cursor, or a box that's gonna move left and right. There's a ball that's bouncing off the cursor, and then there's a line that tells us at the bottom, that tells us that when the game is over, when the ball touches that line, and that line is usually below the actual cursor or box that's moving around to stop the ball. Now, we actually have to tell the computer to do all of those things in order for the game to work. So the way Scratch works is you can add specific characters or sprites. So we're going to click choose a sprite here. And the first thing I'm going to do is pick up our ball sprite. So you can type in the word ball here, or you can see it shows up over there. So I'm going to click ball, and our ball sprite will show up. So you can see on my end here, I can actually move it left and right. I'm just going to put it on the left here for now. Now what I'm going to do is code the specific ball to tell it to bounce around the screen whenever we're ready to go. Now, in order to do that, we have to code the ball specifically. We're going to click events here. And now when the first code we're going to look for is when flag clicked, and we're going to drag it over. What this specifically means is anytime we click this little green flag here, it's going to tell our code to start running. So that's the first thing we're going to pick. Now, we're also going to go under motion here. And what we're going to do is look for point in direction. And what this is going to do is going to point the ball in specific directions based off angles. 90 is kind of aggressive, so I'm just going to go change that to 45. And we want this ball to move constantly. So what we're going to do is tell it under control, and we're going to use something called a loop, or at least on this end, forever. So it's going to do this consistently throughout our code until we tell it to stop. So I'm going to drag that over. And what we also want to do is the ball to move as well. So instead of pointing in direction, we need it to move in different directions as well. So we're going to click motion, and we're going to click move 15 steps, 10. We'll move that up to like 15 just to make it a little bit faster. And the last one, which is really important, is we want it to bounce off the screen, right? So we want it to bounce off left, right, and up, so that's moving in different directions. Now to do that, we're going to use the if edge on bounce under motion, and we're going to click that and move that over here. And that should at least get our ball to move around the screen constantly. Now what we're going to do is also add our paddle or cursor, what I was talking about earlier. So we're going to go back to choose sprite, which is down there. And we're going to click paddle. And it should show up here. So I just typed it in, click paddle, and our paddle will show up. Just to make it easier for me to look at, I'm going to drag it to the bottom as well. Now, similar to the ball, we actually have to get the paddle to move left and right, and we also want it to get the ball to bounce off that specific paddle. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back to control and events as well, and we're going to click when flag clicked. We want it to, in a forever motion, set X to mount X. So I'm going to explain what that is, but I'm going to drag that over. So that's going to be under motion, and we're going to do set X to, and I'm just going to leave that there for now. Now, what this code is going to tell it to do, and one more, I'm going to go under sensing, and then mouse X. Now, what I want this game to do is the ball to bounce off this, and as soon as it bounces off, it's going to go left, right, and bounce off all four walls, right? And we want it to do that constantly. So when the flag is clicked here, what this code is telling us to do is that my mouse, we want it to move on the x-axis. So we want the actual paddle from moves to left to right. We don't want it moving all the way up or all the way down. It needs to stay on that axis. So that's where the set X to mouse X function comes in. What that's going to do is if I hover over this, anytime I move my mouse to the left or move my mouse to the right, the paddle should move. All right, next step is we're going to go back and select the ball sprite because we're going to add a little bit more code. You'll notice when I click ball down here or when I click paddle, the code is changing relative to the type of code we're doing. So I'm going to go back to ball here, and then we're going to add code to bounce the ball off the paddle. So similar to before, we're going to go back to events. We're going to click when flag clicked, and then same idea forever because it's a running game. And what we're going to do is use if and statements, and those are usually located under, let me see, it's under control. So we're going to go if, we're going to drag it over and keep it in the forever loop. So we're going to say if sensing is touching the paddle. So you'll notice I clicked the little arrow on the left-hand side here. Hits paddle, we're going to drag that into the box there. And if it touches the paddle, we want the ball to turn 180 degrees. So just almost flip. So we're going to go motion, and we're going to say turn right 180 degrees. And we also want it to move as well, so bounce off. So we're going to go move, and we're going to use, just for consistency's sake, we're going to change that to 15. And what we're going to do is click control and then wait, and we want it to wait for about, let's say, half a second, so 0.5. So what all this code does is when the ball bounces off my paddle, it's going to turn 180 degrees, and it's also going to move and then wait for a bit and then keep bouncing. So definitely you have to tell the computer to do all those things when you are trying to code a game. Now, to make it a little bit more fun too, we're going to add a little bit of a score to keep count of how the code will work. So to do that, we have to create something called a variable. Variables are created to create an options for a code. So we're click variable, and I'm going to click make a variable, and we're going to type in the word score to keep score of our actual code. So you're going to notice when I type that in, there is now a score option on the top left-hand side of our game, which is pretty cool. And what we're going to do now is change the score to 1. So anytime we want to score, it's gonna score by a point there. And what we're gonna do is insert this actual code into our ball code, into our ball code, but not the one on the left, the one on the right that has to do with bouncing it. So anytime it bounces off the actual paddle, we're gonna get a score of 1. So the ball bounces off the paddle, and we're going to get 1 point off of that, which is ideal. So that way we can we know we're winning, and we're able to keep track of how many times we've been able to keep the ball bouncing around. And then we also need a reset score option. So let's just say we want to keep playing this game, and we don't want the score to, let's just say we know we won by 20. We want to start a new game. We have to tell our game to actually reset the game. So to do that, what we're going to do is go back to events, and anytime we want to reset the game, we can click the flag, and we want to set the score to 0. So I'm going to go back to variables, and we're going to click set, and then go score 0, and we're going to just put that in there for now. So our ball actually has to be coded a fair amount just to get it to do different things. So either bounce around the actual screen, or even bouncing off the actual paddle, as well as resetting new games for ourselves. Now, the last thing we want to do is just give it a bit of a bottom to know that we lose. We have to code our game so that if we actually miss the ball, we lose, right? So to do that, we're going to go back to choose a sprite, and we're going to click the word line. And you're going to see a big line show up on the screen. What we're going to treat that line is our actual endpoint. So if the ball bounces off the green, we're good. But if it hits the red, that means game over. So in order to do that, and to make it easier, I'm just going to leave it at the bottom of the screen there, just so it's easier to look at. And yeah, now what we're going to do is actually create that actual code for that option. So to create the game over function, what we're going to do is go back to events, and then we're going to click when flag clicked. And again, we're going to use that really handy forever loop, which is here. And we're going to say if, and we're also going to use an if then statement. So we're going to throw that in there. So if touching ball, so if this line, so we're coding specifically for the line here, if this touches the ball, then we're going to stop everything. So there's a stop function, and it's under control here, and we're going to click stop all. So what that's going to do is end our game. So let's just say we've been doing really well, we have a score of 10. If this ball hits the red line, it's going to stop our game so that we know that game's over, you have scored 10 points, which is ideal. Cool. So once that's done, that should be it for our game. And what we can actually do is now test our game. So let me just move my face out of the way. And we're gonna hit the word go. So you're seeing the balls moving around. And once the ball actually touches my cursor, you're seeing that the actual numbers going up. So I'm doing pretty well here. I have a fair amount of score. And this game goes as long as I'm good at the game. So if I keep going, and as long as my computer has battery life, I can keep playing this game, which is great. And my number is extending upward and upward. But let's just say I miss. The game is over. It tells me my score is 17. So yeah, it's pretty fun. You'll notice that we have to do a lot of different things here. We didn't have to code the background, but we have to do a lot of stuff especially with the ball, to tell it what to do. I'm going to hit reset here so that everyone knows where everything is. And I'm going to move the ball so that it's above the red line so I can reset it. Now, with the ball in particular, I had to tell it to point in different directions to move around the screen. And also I had to tell it what to do to bounce off the paddle. And I also had to tell it to set my score to 0 when everything's up. And on the paddle side, what I could do is I had to code it specifically to react to my mouse and to only move on the x-axis. So it's only moving from left to right. X-axis is always from left to right. Y-axis is always from up and down. And I also have to code the line so that whenever the ball touches the line, it would stop my game. So yeah, that's how you create a Pong game. I'm gonna play around a little bit for some more. I'm very proud of this. Now, if anyone has any questions, feel free to just tag us on your MPL social accounts, all of our Markham Public Library accounts. We're doing a lot of cool stuff with Steam throughout the summer as well as the fall as well. Be sure to check out our summer camps if there's still spots available. We do a lot of cool stuff with coding as well as 3D modeling, 3D printing. We have an architects and engineers camp as well. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. And hopefully everyone's staying safe and enjoying the great weather. Thanks everybody, and I'm going to and have a great day. Have a good one. Goodbye.